Night 2 of the RNC is underway with another round of praise for the president and warnings about a future with Democrats in power.
WGN political reporter Tamon Bradley here to catch us up on the night so far. Hey, Tamon.
Micah and Patrick, good evening. Once again, lots of President Trump tonight. He just held a nationalization ceremony from the White House. The message tonight at the RNC, the best is yet to come. The speakers are promising a safer, better, stronger America if the country rehires President Trump.
The American dream. That's what Donald Trump is doing.
Rave reviews. Tonight, President Trump's record through the eyes of the GOP.
President Trump delivered the largest financial funding package ever to Indian country.
President Trump gets things done. When some in Congress wanted a so-called revenue-neutral tax plan, Donald Trump and I worked together to make sure that it was a true tax cut.
Right now, our economic health is coming back. With emergency spending and tax cuts, Americans are going back to work. There's a housing boom, there's an auto boom, a manufacturing boom.
On foreign policy, Secretary of State Mike Pompeo appears in taped remarks from Jerusalem. He's on a diplomatic mission, so the speech breaks with the long-standing tradition of separating diplomacy and politics. No sitting Secretary of State has addressed a national convention in at least 75 years. House Democrats have launched an investigation. President Trump used his appearance tonight to pardon John Ponder, a man who robbed a bank in Nevada. In a story of faith and redemption, Ponder was joined by the FBI agent who arrested him. The message, support for law enforcement and second chances.
I'd like to invite John's wife, Jamie, to join us as I grant John, I'm not sure you know this, a full pardon. Okay. I think I'll give it to Jamie. What do you think?
Republicans are using their convention week to rally their base. There are warnings about radical liberals and predictions of doom if America elects Joe Biden.
Joe Biden said the first thing he's going to do is increase taxes on everyone.
Coming up this hour, the headliner, First Lady Melania Trump, making her first campaign appearance, speaking from the newly renovated White House Rose Garden. Aides say it will be authentic. 4 years ago, the future First Lady's speech famously borrowed from Michelle Obama. Mrs. Trump is expected to appeal to women voters and offer up a proposed second-term agenda.
Tonight she talks about being a mother, and she lays out the case for why the president needs to be for another 4 years.
Before the evening program, a speaker, Marianne Mendoza, was removed from the program for retweeting anti-Semitic QAnon conspiracies. The RNC distancing itself from that far-right conspiracy theory, but a QAnon candidate tweeted today that she will join President Trump at the White House for his remarks Thursday. Also, the Chicago FOP president, John Catanzaro, will be there. Micah and Patrick.
Well, Tamon, thank you. Joining our discussion now with Tamon is WGN political analyst Paul Lisick. Let's talk a little bit, since you mentioned QAnon, Tamon. Let's talk about that, Paul. The president was asked about QAnon and how they are supporting him, and instead of denouncing them, he came out and said that, I know they like me.
Well, that is what he said, but whenever anybody else in his administration, Micah, is asked about it, they essentially have said, we're paying no attention to it, only the media is. Pence seemed to put it aside, and some others have basically said, you know, we're going to denounce it. Some have straight out denounced it, others have not. But you're right, it is President Trump's approach generally to say they like me, so, hey, it's not so bad.
Tamon, you mentioned John Catanzaro on tomorrow night. What do we expect from him, and why is he going to be there?
Well, as a show of support, it drives home the law and order message, Patrick. But let me just say that this was a pretty strong night for the Republicans. They really drove home their message, painting a picture of a good 4 years, promises made, promises kept. It was a lot more substance, a lot less fear. And on the way in here, Paul and I were talking about a woman who spoke about abortion. Now, some of what she said, frankly, was very graphic, and we wouldn't want to necessarily talk about it, but that really connects with the base. And so in terms of activating and energizing Trump supporters, it definitely is happening tonight.
And Paul, they did get the licks into the media with Nicholas Sandmann, the Covington Catholic former high school student who we saw in video a while back. He said that the media is unfair giving unfair coverage to the president.
Well, this was the young man, Micah, who looked like he was taking on an older gentleman at a March for Life March for Life rally, and he had on a MAGA hat. And it turns out that in the end, he was a Trump supporter, but he wasn't doing anything except trying to show respect. The media ended up having to back off. I do want to give props while we're talking, though, to President Trump's daughter, Tiffany. She has already spoken tonight, and whereas last night Don Jr. was pretty tough in his language, certainly against Joe Biden in many ways, Tiffany Trump, in my view, hit the right tone tonight, basically talking about a positive view of President Trump's view for the country and encouraging people to say, if this is the way you want to see things, that you should support my father, without attacking Joe Biden, without being negative, without being yelling. I think tonight, so far, she gets the award for doing the most reach out for independence.
Micah and Patrick, to the point that you made about going after the media, you would think that the Republicans would not want a headline like what's going on with Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and not separating diplomacy in politics. But keep in mind that just because the media is rattled, that's something that connects with the base. This is a president who was elected to shake things up. And often the base gets excited if the president says that up is down and down is up. That is something that really connects with them.
Thank you to Paul Lisek and Tamon Bradley. Our coverage of the Republican National Convention will continue all week long. We'll have live updates and coverage throughout the WGN News and 9 and 10. Trump's official acceptance speech scheduled for Thursday night. You can also read more at WGNTV.com/election.